is that I think unshed tears lead men to be violent, lead men to addictions, alcoholism and drug abuse, lead men to violence and to gender, to their partner, to intimate partner violence, lead men to killing themselves, and lead boys to believing that they have to not cry in order to be a man. And when we give permission to men to cry, and when we actually make a safe place for men to cry, it can start to unravel the cycle of violence, the addictive behaviors, the suicides, the gang behaviors. I think it can even stop the process of war. I think it's very important to understand that men can cry usually after they do their violence, or after they've really damaged themselves, or done some destructive act. And the process to relearn, because it's been centuries that men have been taught not to cry. And as an emotional being, as a gender on this planet, to have the design inside of us that helps relieve our upsets and our angers and our fears, and have that be tears, but to have that shut off creates this whole kind of acts of violence and self-destruction and just inhumane behavior. And I don't think anybody has ever just said, well, let's become crying men. Where I used to work with a lot of violent men in San Quentin and in county jails, trying to help them unravel the patriarchy. I used to say, you take the mystery out of your violence, all right? And I don't think anybody's had the courage to say, and you need to cry. When we stop and look at what men have done to women and to other men, to their children, and to themselves, it begins with not shedding tears. It begins with not being able to love. And if you can't cry, just about anything, love demands tears, just like love demands joy. And when you get that taken away from you as a boy, and you don't have access to that as kind of a release valve, you end up dying inside. So the feelings for love can't even be real. It's kind of like living a short distance from your body, and it doesn't become a felt experience. And so what Crying Man is doing is creating a place for men to come and cry, and to cry over personal things in their life, to cry over, to remember experiences where they haven't cried before, or to have experiences now that can really allow them a place to cry. I want to have opportunities for men to see and to feel what actually goes on this planet on a day-to-day basis. The suicides that teenage boys do, the rapes that college boys do, the gang violence that young men of color do to themselves and to other young men, to open our hearts up, to feel that, and to be able to cry about it. So it isn't just a story. It isn't just an experience, but rather it's a place inside of us that we can allow our humanity that has been denied by our gender and our training and our conditioning. It allows that spark to be seen and heard and to grow inside of us to be really human, personal. And this is what I love about Crying Man, because Crying Man gives a whole category, gives a safe place to come in and say, hey, you know, I haven't been crying. And a procedure, a process to support the tears to come. I imagine boys, you know, teenage boys. We've had suicides of a lot of young men that were gay, homosexual, and they've killed themselves because they didn't think it could ever get better. They just didn't know how they were going to fit into this world. And what men do, what boys do to fit into the world is they stop crying. And after you stop crying, you stop feeling. After you stop feeling, you become separate. When you become separate, you stop loving. And as you see that as your path, if that's how you're going to live your life, it seems easier to just kill yourself. There's another part inside that goes, I can't do that. It's not living. And I think it's the same process with addiction. You know, they say alcoholism and drug abuse is a symptom. It's not the underlying cause. If you're feeling peaceful and loving and a part of a family or a community, if you're feeling heard and seen, you don't need to go get drunk. You don't need to shoot heroin or smoke crack or, you know, it's just not necessary. But when there's a part of you that has been denied or stolen or taken away from, you know, every boy that ends up on death row started out as a beautiful little boy. Started out with full potential to feel and to love and to cry. And somehow that gets taken from him. And it's not a mystery anymore. We know how we do it. We give them a role. We give them a belief system. We give them models. How to be a man, be cool, be tough, be strong, be right, take what you need. And it's time to create a place for men and boys to cry.